We had a research conducted, which was basically a descriptive research to explore the self-regulation and academic motivation during online education. Moving forward, it is known that we have entered in an era when educational systems are digitalized with heavy reliance on digital technology, and we basically belong to a nation which has never had such a high exposure to digital things, and especially for educational purposes. Most of the youth and teachers have mostly used just laptop for assignments. They have never used such things for educational purpose as a whole. So it was a very hard time, not just for the teachers but also for the students, to regulate themselves, basically, because we are a nation, we are a external motivation driven nation. Most of the times we're studying because our teacher is on our head and they are just telling us to study. We are not self motivated, we're not intrinsically doing things. So amid the COVID situation, it's been a really hard shift from traditional module to an online education. And even if the students are, as you can see in the infographic, when people are attending the class and they are not interested, they are at least unconsciously listening to it. But during our online system, their cameras are off, their microphones are off, they're probably not even listening to whatever a teacher is saying. So it's been a really big, you can say, change, something we weren't ready for as a nation, as a developing country, something we didn't had resources to deal with. We basically, as a nation, face many difficulties when it comes to online education. First of all is that our education system is very different when we compare it with Western education system, because their education system is somehow based on concepts, while our education system heavily relies on memorization. And when things shift to online module, teachers are usually appreciating conceptual knowledge, they are providing conceptual assessments. So this was a drastic shift. Moreover, there were other things that we required to shift to a module that most of the people did not have. We had funding issues. Most of the people did not had devices which could work throughout and provide them with a better learning experience. Then we have our basic target population, earning students and non-earning students. We were basically focusing on earning and non-earning students because we have seen that in Pakistan, we have two different types of students when it comes to earning status. There are a few students who earn, meet their educational expenses, and do things on their own. And then we have non-earning students who are completely dependent on their parents or their guardians for providing them with everything which is necessary to educate themselves. Both of the students, as we had a general, you can say, observation, are not same. The reason being is that challenges and the pressure, the stressors on the both ends are very different. When it comes to earning students, they have to deal with time management, they have to deal with their job, they have to deal with their education, and not just attending classes but assessments and exams and everything in between. So they are putting extra energy to this. When it comes to non-earning students, they aren't, you cannot say that non-earning students have no problem at all. Non-earning students might have funding issues, but their parents may not want them to work at, their parents mostly want their children to focus on their studies. So that's not as if non-earning students are on the bed of roses or something. The first variable that we focused on was academic motivation. And academic motivation is basically your internal urge to study. Not all students are motivated to earn or learn at the same time, and not all students are putting the same level of efforts to it. So basically, there are two types of motivation: intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. While our construct of academic motivation was further divided into seven more constructs, out of which we did not use the last one. Then there is self regulation. Okay. Self regulation is your own tendency to manage your energies, to manage your emotions, and mold them in a way that takes you in the direction of your goal. You wake up and you know you have to do this just to, go to university. You have to do this task, you have to attend this class, and all that. We still see people who wake up, turn off their alarm clocks, and sleep again. Why? They are not well regulated when it comes to themselves. They are not regulating their energies. They are not putting things in the right direction to stay online. The main objectives of our study was to explore that there might be a difference in earning and non-earning students, as they will score differently on academic motivation and self-regulation construct during online education. And secondly, the objective was to assess whether impact of self-regulation on academic motivation would be different for earning and non-earning students in online education. Basically, online education requires more academic motivation and more self regulation than traditional classes do. As I had mentioned earlier, you might just go and sit in the class with your mind blank. You might not be listening to something, you might be out of your zone, but you're still in the class just because there is attendance problem and other things. But in online class, you have more escapes. You can simply turn the camera off, turn the microphone off, and vanish in the thin air, and teacher might just be satisfied with you being in the class as you have just joined it. So you need more motivation, more self-regulation to learn during that time when you do have an escape. Learning when there is no escape is not something really strong, is not something that requires your internal determination. Next, we have research design and participants. It was basically a cross-sectional research design, and we had a sample of 247 participants. Following, we have some descriptives that you can see. Most of the students were university students. Some were from the undergraduate programs and some were from the graduate programs. Though we keep it, though we try to keep it very clear that earning and non-earning students would be comparable in number. Our inclusion criteria basically was to include all the young adults who were in the age of 19 to 30, who were studying in a university, who were earning or not earning, and both genders were included. Exclusion criteria were students who were not studying in a regular university, because we know that there are virtual universities and other such institutions in which people are already studying and all that. So we did not included those students because they were already adapted to the environment before the epidemic. We kept our participants confined to the students who had faced an abrupt change, who had came from a different mode of study and moved to a different mode of study now. The tools we used were academic motivation scale and self-regulation scale. The academic motivation scale we used was basically designed by Robert in 1993, and it had 28 items. And next week is the scoring scheme. I think that might just bore you out, so I'm just skipping that. The next is self-regulation scale, and it was designed in 1999. It had 10 items, and following is the alpha reliability in our research. We basically tried to keep the scales and the items at minimum so that the participants won't be like, ticking randomly and getting bored out of it. First, we took the permission from department committee, and then most of the research was conducted on Google Forms to abide by all the COVID SOPs, and then so we had initially we had a few face-to-face form fillings, but we realized that it won't be feasible during the situation. So we shifted to Google Forms, and we had kept the graphs under consideration to see that the sample remains comparable. We followed all the ethical considerations before each form was filled. We used to brief the client that they can go at any time they want. It's completely normal. If they don't want to participate, if they're busy right now, they don't need to. And all the permissions were taken from the department, all the ethical considerations were kept under review. These are some descriptives that describe the participants better. We kept under consideration the age, gender, degree level, family system, because we have two distinct family systems in Pakistan, financial status, dependent and independent. Sometimes students are earning, but they are still dependent on their parents. They're just earning and they're just giving it to their parents, and then their parents are spending on them. So they're still dependent. We have socioeconomic status, we have scholarships or non-scholarships, because students who are already studying on scholarships might not face the same level of financial stressors and financial issues, funding issues, if they are already on a scholarship. And then we have some self-reported CGPAs, birth order, and all other things that might have an impact. Then we can see how in this table, which describes the analytics of moderating role of earning status on relationship between self-regulation and intrinsic and extrinsic academic motivation. Finally, we have the results. The t-test demonstrated that earning students scored significantly higher on four motivation outcomes, including intrinsic motivation to know, intrinsic motivation towards accomplishment, extrinsic motivation identified, and extrinsic motivation external regulation compared to non-earning students. Okay, now this was a groundbreaking, you can say, finding, because most of the parents in Pakistan think that if their children will learn and earn at the same time, they will be diverted, they will not focus on their studies, they will be less responsible.
Miss
But
Miss
we
Sahar,
are completely
Miss
different.
Miss
Yes?
Sahar,
Yeah.
can you make sure you share the right screen? Did you share the entire screen?
No, just a window.
I think you did not share the right window. Can you reshare the window? Are you playing the
Yes,
PowerPoint?
yes, I was. You
I,
couldn't see?
I think you somehow share the not share the right window. Can you reshare it? Or maybe
Let
share the
me,
entire screen? Can you
let me.
reshare it? Or just use the live doc to do it? I think it will be better anyway.
Can you see the slides?
Yeah, right now uh well
Now can
it's
you?
no it's showing the PowerPoint but not the PowerPoint player.
Oh, damn. Got it.
Maybe you can just go back to the live doc to do it using the using the
Sure.
using the doc. Yeah, I think this will be so much more clear actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
So
my slides had some animations. All these figures and pictures you can see they
yeah,
move.
in the future
But
we'll turn on the animations, but at this time,
yeah,
animation was in it disabled. In the future, we'll enable it. Yeah, but it's
sure.
much more clear because it's unlimited resolution.
Got it. So the results basically demonstrated that earning students had more academic motivation. They were more self-regulated than non-earning students. Mostly, parents think that if their children will earn and learn at the same time, they won't be able to do either of them. But this is not true. When children are put into a situation where they earn and learn, they basically grow. their energy levels increase and they are more motivated to keep everything organized. Moreover, female students showed higher level of gratitude, intrinsic motivation, and extrinsic motivation as compared to male students. So we had two differences on the basis of earning and non-earning status, and then on the basis of gender. All three intrinsic motivation outcomes and three extrinsic motivation outcomes were significantly and positively correlated with self regulation. Basically, when students have a motivation, intrinsic or extrinsic, they are more uh, self regulating, because when you're motivated to do everything, you will put yourself in the direction of doing so. Finally, the conclusion. It was found that self regulation is a significant factor in intrinsic and extrinsic academics motivation of all students, and particularly for earning students. That we can say that earning is a good thing, especially in a developing nation. We need to put our students in a place where they can earn and learn as well, just like the Western countries. In our country, most of the students are mostly dependent on their parents. For the most time, they are uh, taking all the help, financials, and everything from their parents. While in the West, after teenage, at least, they let their children be on their own. They can earn, they can study, they can do whatever they want, they can do both. But in our country, children are heavily relying on their parents. And if we need to shift things, we need to provide opportunities for youth to earn that are flexible enough to give them time to learn as well. It will be better for them as they will be more academically motivated and better at self regulation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sehar, for that very interesting presentation. So, moving
Yeah, I
forward,
can definitely see things.
sorry, I didn't get catch you there, Ms. Sehar. Were you saying something?
I'm really sorry. I didn't knew at first that you couldn't see the infographics or anything. I was playing them, and
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We just need to go with the flow, you know. Sometimes technology works, sometimes it fails on us. So it's a love and hate relationship. So but we're not gonna let go of it. So let's just keep it at that. So, Sahar, we do have a few questions for you. One of the questions that we got was from Mr. Ahmed. So he's asking, how can students be motivated to self-regulate when there's no check on them?
it was a descriptive research. We were defining things as they were. We didn't manipulate any of the things. And the thing was that when you are put in a situation where you are earning and you have to pursue a degree as well for promotion, for earning differently, for shifting your career or something, it gives you an internal urge to learn because you're spending on yourself, you're paying for the classes, you know that I have worked this much and that is how I am affording my education. And that is when you are intrinsically motivated, you're spending on it, you're motivated, and then you know that okay, I have to get up, I have to regulate myself, I have to move in a way that I'm successful because I'm already putting an effort to achieve this thing.
Right. Definitely, the motivation factor is there. Once if that is there, then there's no issue at all. But that is the problem now. How to go about it? How to keep yourself motivated and committed to this. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, you talked about how we need to obviously learn from the West because they have that kind of a culture. They have that traditional framework where it has been given to them that, well, if you when you go to college, you need to do your part-time jobs to be earning that sort of an income to support your education. So obviously, the sense of responsibility has been given from that very start, but that is something, unfortunately, which is not happening in Pakistan for the most part of it. So, but you need to also give us a little practical approach towards it, and how are students to manage their time? If because when it comes to education, you have a lot of projects that you need to work on. You get a lot of assignments. There are deadlines to adhere to, and then you're planning to go for a job as well. So how do we get that kind of balance? Because parents are rightfully so concerned about it. They're spending so much money on it, so they want their students, their children, to completely be committed to their studies. But then how do we create that kind of a balance where they are committed to their studies, but then of course they're supporting themselves, and the self regulation equation also comes into focus.
Noticed, even if we have a dependent family system, you might have noticed that students at your home, your siblings, your cousins, even if they have a lot of assignments, even if they have a lot of things to study, they still have time for their games, they still have time for their movies, they still have time for using their cell phone and social media and all that. So uh,
But we need
I
that, sir. Come on. We do need our social media. We need a little bit of Netflix time. So please grant us
course,
that.
we can take it along with it. I have personally been working as a content writer internationally in the freelance market since 3 years, and I have spent my entire degree studying and earning, doing both, and I'm a gold medalist as well. So I can prove it doesn't affect the way you learn.
Right. Okay. Awesome. We have your example to follow then, huh?
And basically, I would not say that children should go and have physical jobs, basically, things that drain their energies, things that are demanding more of physical effort. They must actually focus on things that help them grow, like writing, like there are other things, some things related to their own profession, something related to their degree. Like if you're in psychology, you can have some online consulting things and motivational speaking things. You can explore things in your degree that will benefit you by providing you hands-on experience, providing you earning, and everything in between. You don't need to have a full-time job, you don't need to have a part-time job. You can just initiate something and then take it to the next level slow and steadily. You might not make a, you can say, family size income out of it, but at least starting from somewhere is better than starting from scratch when you finish your degree.
That is very well put, and hopefully that is taken into consideration for a country like Pakistan, which continues to have very strong traditional values in place, which obviously is, I believe, what you said is limiting the students as opposed to actually, supporting their educational platform. So definitely that is something we need to look into, to ponder upon, and especially our government, if they could also provide such kind of, art frameworks where the students can support themselves, and no, don't go for full-fledged extremely tough jobs. So yes.
I would like to add this here. Our government basically has a Digi Skills program, which is a completely virtual program. It's a program which has been made by the government with the help of virtual university, which is providing students with marketable skills in the international market with free of cost. You can learn WordPress, you can learn writing, you can learn graphic designing, anything you want. They have a lot of marketable skills there already. The government is pushing things through to help students earn from home and learn as well. People are not looking for the opportunities, there are opportunities.
That's interesting. Sarah, if you could just provide us the link as well for that, for DG Scale in our chat box, maybe our attendees would like to look into it and get into the details of it as well. So that is definitely a very interesting update. One more thing, you had talked about the self-regulation scale. that was created. I mean, can you just give us a brief overview over the factors on which it was based? I think your mic is not on, Seher. Could you just check on that?
Okay. The regulation scale that I used had 10 items. They were Most of the items were based on the thing that, can I come back to focus when I am distracted? Can I work even when I have stressors? Can I work when things go wrong? Can I work when I have been working on something and suddenly it doesn't provide the same output? Almost all of the items were focused on coming back to the right level, coming back to the equilibrium when something has been disturbed. That is self regulation. You're sleeping, you can sleep all day, but it's important to be motivated, and that is only when you will wake up and go. Extrinsic factors excluded, when parents will come and just grab you off your bed. But when it comes to just yourself, it's when you have harmony and it's disturbed, but you're still focused on the goals. You can move back to equilibrium, you can stay focused.
Wonderful. That is a wonderful thought. So I hope it stays on that you can move back to equilibrium and get yourself focused on your achievements. So with that thought, Miss Seher, I had it was extremely insightful, and to understand it from that perspective that we do have two kinds of students: those that are completely dependent on someone for their education, and then we have the earning students who need to balance. And the way the self-regulation concept came into play is extremely informative and interesting. So thank you so much for bringing that to our viewers and letting us know in detail how that whole thing works. Thank you for joining us for APOS 3.0.